Imagine this, you wake up in your own bed, but your next step takes you across the planet. No planes, no roads, no time. Just a thought. And you're there. 1 second, you're standing in your room. The next, you're on a frozen mountain in Antarctica. Or inside a crowded market in Tokyo. Or at the bottom of the ocean. No distance. No delay. Teleportation. For centuries, it has lived in science fiction, a dream of instant travel, a power bill on physics. But what if it suddenly became real, not for machines, not for governments, for everyone. Every human on Earth, able to teleport anywhere, instantly. What would happen to our world? Let's be clear. This is not fast travel. This is not moving quickly. This is instant relocation. No transition. No journey. You vanish and reappear somewhere else, perfectly intact, with everything you're carrying. No energy cost. No limits on distance. No delay from your home to the moon, from a city to the middle of the ocean. Anywhere, all it takes is intent. And suddenly, the entire structure of human civilization begins to shake. Distance has always defined human life. It shapes where we live, where we work, who we know. Cities exist because movement is slow. Trade exists because transport takes time. Borders exist because movement can be controlled. Teleportation erases all of that. Distance becomes meaningless. A worker in a small village can commute to New York in an instant. A student in Africa can attend a university in London, physically, every day. Families scattered across continents, reunited. In seconds, the concept of far away disappears. And with it, the world begins to compress. The first industry to fall is transportation. Airplanes, grounded. Trains, empty. Cars, obsolete. Why sit in traffic when you can step across the world? Why spend hours in the sky when the journey takes 0 seconds? Airlines collapse almost overnight. Airports become relics. Shipping industries vanish. Cargo ships abandoned at sea. Even fuel demand plummets. While economies destabilize, entire nations built on transportation and logistics face economic collapse. Because movement no longer requires infrastructure. It requires only thought. Borders are enforced by control. Checkpoints. Visas. Surveillance. But teleportation ignores all barriers. Walls mean nothing if you can appear on the other side. A person can step into any country without permission, without detection. Immigration systems fail instantly. Millions begin moving freely across the globe, some in search of opportunity, others fleeing conflict. Governments lose control over who enters and who leaves. National identity begins to blur. And political tension rises, because when movement becomes uncontrollable, sovereignty itself is challenged. Then comes a darker reality. Teleportation doesn't just empower the good. It empowers everyone. A criminal can appear inside a bank vault and vanish seconds later. A weapon can be delivered anywhere, instantly. Kidnapping becomes easier. Assassinations become almost impossible to prevent. Law enforcement cannot respond in time. Because by the moment a crime is reported, the criminal is already gone and could be anywhere on Earth. Or nowhere predictable. Prisons lose meaning too. A prisoner could simply leave. Security systems fail. Locks, walls, barriers, all irrelevant. Society enters a new phase, where control is no longer physical. But not everything collapses. Some things evolve. Work changes completely. Location no longer matters. The best surgeon in the world can operate in multiple countries. In a single day, engineers can fix critical systems anywhere on Earth, instantly. Emergency response becomes faster than ever before. Firefighters appear at the scene in seconds. Doctors reach patients without delay. Disasters can be addressed immediately. Lives are saved on an unprecedented scale. But competition also intensifies. If anyone can work anywhere, then everyone is competing with everyone. Local jobs vanish. Global talent dominates. The idea of a local economy begins to fade. Then something unexpected happens. People begin to gather in the same places, beautiful locations, famous landmarks, safe and wealthy regions. Why live in a remote or difficult environment when you can teleport somewhere better? Cities swell beyond capacity. Not because people move there permanently, but because they can appear there anytime. A quiet beach becomes crowded. Every minute of the day, a historical site becomes overwhelmed. Constantly, even private spaces are no longer truly private, because anyone could appear at any time. This leads to a terrifying consequence. Privacy disappears. Your home is no longer secure unless teleportation can somehow be blocked. There is no guarantee that someone won't appear inside your space. Security becomes psychological, not physical. Trust erodes. People begin to fear unseen presence because teleportation is silent. Instant. Invisible. You don't hear it coming. You don't see it happen. One moment you are alone, the next, you are not. But there is another side. A powerful one. Exploration accelerates beyond imagination. Scientists can access the deepest parts of the ocean instantly. They can study remote ecosystems without delay. Space exploration changes completely. If teleportation works beyond Earth, humans could step onto Mars without rockets, visit distant moons, explore space directly. The universe becomes reachable. And knowledge expands at a pace never seen before. But teleportation raises a deeper question. What happens to the human body? Is it moved or recreated? If teleportation involves breaking you down and rebuilding you, then is the person who arrives truly you or just a copy? Consciousness itself becomes uncertain. Identity becomes fragile, because if teleportation duplicates rather than moves, then every jump could be a replacement. A silent and followed by a perfect imitation, and no one would ever know. As systems collapse, a new economy emerges. Physical goods lose value. If they can be moved instantly, scarcity shifts. Location is no longer rare, but experiences become priceless. People seek meaning, not distance. Tourism transforms into something deeper, not visiting a place, but existing in multiple places. In a single day, markets restructure, property value changes. A remote mountain cabin becomes just as accessible as a city apartment. Real estate loses its geographic advantage. Because everywhere is equally close, cultures begin to merge. Languages spread rapidly. Traditions mix. People interact across continents. Daily. Diversity increases, but so does tension, because constant interaction brings constant friction. Differences that once existed far apart now collide instantly. The world becomes more connected. But also more complex. At first, it seems like a miracle. No cars. No planes. No emissions from travel. Pollution drops dramatically. The planet begins to recover. But then, human presence expands everywhere. Remote ecosystems, no longer protected by isolation, delicate environments, face sudden exposure. Tourism becomes infinite, and even the most fragile locations are no longer safe, because they are no longer unreachable. Eventually, governments try to respond. New systems emerge, teleportation restrictions, designated safe zones. Monitoring technologies, but enforcement is nearly impossible, because teleportation itself cannot be easily tracked. Control becomes decentralized. Power shifts away from institutions toward individuals. Humanity becomes harder to govern and easier to disrupt. Teleportation doesn't just change travel. It changes everything. Space. Time. Identity. Society. It removes barriers, but creates new dangers. It connects the world, but destabilizes it. It empowers humanity, but also exposes its flaws, because when limitations disappear, so do the systems built around them. And what remains is human nature. Unfiltered. Unrestricted. So, what would happen if humans could teleport anywhere instantly? The world would become smaller. Faster. More connected, but also more fragile, because distance has always been a form of protection. A buffer, a boundary, and without it, everything happens all at once. Opportunity. Conflict. Progress. Chaos. Teleportation and wouldn't just bring us closer together. It would force us to confront who we really are. Because when nothing is out of reach, there is nowhere left to hide. And that raises a final question. If you had the power to go anywhere, instantly, where would you go first? And more importantly, what might already be waiting when you arrive?